Hello everyone, I'm the Leo from Susan's family. Today, I'm bringing you the Morning Breeze Cashmere Scarf in Autumn Glaze. The scarf consists of the main part and the tassels. We'll start by knitting the main part. After completing it, we'll attach the tassels to the corresponding positions. First, let's talk about the main part. It is divided into an increasing section and a decreasing section. We start by casting on and then knitting the increasing section. Then, continue knitting the decreasing section. This scarf uses the method of casting on and knitting at the same time. We knit back and forth in rows. Now, let's take a look at the pattern chart. The chart I have here is for teaching purposes only. Please refer to the actual project you have in hand. The chart is in a grid format. Each square in the chart represents one stitch. When counting the number of stitches in each row, just count the number of squares. Then, match the number of loops on the straight needle. The numbers on the side of the chart indicate the row numbers. Arrows show the direction of knitting. Odd numbered rows are worked on the right side. Read the chart from right to left. Even numbered rows are worked on the wrong side. Read the chart from left to right. At the same time, work the opposite stitch on the wrong side. There are many stitch techniques used in this project. The chart will mark all the stitch techniques used. I won't go through each one in detail. Now, let me demonstrate the specific knitting method. First, cast on. To make it easier for you to see clearly, I'll use cotton yarn for the demonstration. The colors are random. For specific yarn, the color scheme, and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. Make a slip knot with the yarn. Leave the yarn tail a bit longer. This makes it easier to weave in the ends later. Pick up the straight needle with your left hand. Insert it into the loop. Slightly tighten. This is the first stitch. This stitch will be a knit stitch. Hold the other straight needle with your right hand, as if you were holding a pen. Wrap the yarn around your pinky finger once. Gently pinch the yarn with your ring finger and middle finger. Place the yarn between your index finger and middle finger. This is the basic posture for knitting with straight needles. Next, place the right needle above the yarn. Insert it from top to bottom into the loop on the left needle. Use your right index finger to hold the yarn. Yarn over and pick up the yarn. Pull it through the loop on the left needle. Don't pull the yarn too tight, otherwise, it will be difficult to pick up stitches later. This is the second stitch. Continue casting on. Place the right needle above the yarn. Insert it from top to bottom between these two stitches. Yarn over, pick up the yarn. Pull it through the loop on the left needle. This is the third stitch. Let's take a look. Each time you insert the needle, it goes between two loops. Continue knitting and casting on the next stitch. Pay attention. Don't pull the yarn too tight. It's okay if it's slightly loose. This is the fourth stitch. The casting on is done. The cast on row doesn't count in the row count. Now we'll start working row 1. The chart for this row starts from right to left. This row is represented by blank squares in the chart. It indicates knit stitches. Start with the first stitch. Insert the right needle from top to bottom into the first loop. Pay attention, you're inserting into the loop, not between two loops. Yarn over and pick up the yarn. At the same time, release the loop on the left needle. One knit stitch is complete. Continue with the second stitch. Insert into the loop. Yarn over and draw through. Another knit stitch is done. We'll continue using the knit stitch method to complete this row. You can see below, a braid-like texture. The yarn tail is on the left side. The side you see is the right side. This completes the first row. Now, move on to the second row. Turn the workpiece. The chart for this row starts from left to right. Since the chart shows the texture of the right side of the fabric, you need to work the stitches in reverse. The purl stitch symbols in this row should be worked as knit stitches. Insert into the loop. Yarn over and draw through. One knit stitch is done. We'll continue using the knit stitch method. Finish this row. Row 2 is completed. Move on to row 3. The chart for this row starts from right to left. Knit 2 stitches. You've reached the yarn over. The symbol for a yarn over is a circle. Bring the yarn from front to back over the right needle. The yarn over is done. Knit 1 stitch. You'll notice there's an extra loop here. It's the loop corresponding to the yarn over. Knit 1 more stitch. Row 3 is completed. Move on to row 4. The chart for this row starts from left to right, and you'll work the opposite stitch pattern. For odd numbered rows, the chart starts from right to left. For even numbered rows, it starts from left to right. I won't repeat the explanation. Knit 2 stitches. Purl 1 stitch. Bring the yarn above the right needle. Insert from the bottom up into the loop. Yarn over and draw through. At the same time, release the loop from the left needle. 1 purl stitch is complete. Bring the yarn back below the right needle. Knit 2 stitches. Row 4 is completed. Now I'll show you a method to count rows. Each braid represents 1 row. The braid at the bottom is formed by the starting chain. It doesn't count as a row. Start counting from the braid above. 1, 2, 3. Plus the loops on the needle also count as 1 row. So here we have completed 4 rows. You can also count the raised textures. 1 raised texture represents 2 rows. Now we will start row 5. Knit 2 stitches. Move to the slip stitch of the knit stitch. This stitch spans 2 rows. For the first row, knit normally. 1 yarn over. Bring the yarn from front to back over the right needle. The yarn over is done. Knit 2 stitches. Row 5 is complete. Now move on to row 6. Work the opposite stitch pattern. Knit 2 stitches. Bring the yarn to the top of the right needle. 1 purl stitch. Insert from the bottom up into the loop. Yarn over and draw through. At the same time, release the loop from the left needle. 1 purl stitch is done. Move to the slip stitch on the knit side. Work the opposite stitch pattern on the wrong side. You need to work a purl float. Place the yarn above the right needle. Pick up the loop from the left needle with the right needle. 1 purl float is completed. Bring the yarn back below the right needle. For the purl stitch, bring the yarn back to the top of the right needle. For the knit stitch, bring the yarn back to the bottom of the right needle. I won't repeat this in the following steps. 2 knit stitches. Row 6 is completed. Now move on to row 7. Knit 2 stitches. Move to the slip stitch on the knit side. This stitch technique spans 2 rows. Work the knit stitches normally on the first row. 3 knit stitches. Row 7 is completed. Now start row 8. 2 knit stitches. One purl stitch. 1 purl stitch with a yarn over. Place the yarn in front of the right needle. The right needle directly picks up the loop from the left needle. 1 purl stitch with a yarn over is done. 2 knit stitches. Row 8 is completed. Now start row 9. 3 knit stitches. One yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Row 9 is completed. Now start row 10. 2 knit stitches. 1 purl stitch with a yarn over. 1 purl stitch. 1 purl stitch with a yarn over. 2 knit stitches. Row 10 is completed. Now continue with rows 11 to 22. Everyone, follow the method you've learned to complete these rows. Next, start row 23. Knit 6 stitches. One yarn over. Knit the next 3 stitches together. Insert the right needle from left to right, pass through the 2 loops on the left needle. Slip without knitting. Knit the 3rd stitch. Pick up the 2 loops on the right needle, place them on the loop you just knitted. Complete 1 knit stitch by knitting the next 3 stitches together. 1 yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Row 23 is completed. Now continue with rows 24 to 25. Everyone, follow the method you've learned. Refer to the chart to complete row 24. Now start row 25. 3 knit stitches. 1 yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Move to the right and knit the next 2 stitches together. First, slip 1 stitch from the left side, as if to knit. Then knit 1 stitch. Next, pick up 1 stitch without knitting it using the left needle. Pass it over the stitch on the left and slip it off. The right side 2 stitches knit together are now completed. You can see the stitch on the right side is on top. 1 knit stitch. 1 yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Row 25 is done. Now start rows 26 and 27. Follow the method you've learned. Refer to the chart to complete row 26. Now start row 27. 4 knit stitches. 1 yarn over. 2 knit stitches. 1 knit stitch right side 2 stitches knit together. Two knit stitches. 1 yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Row 27 is done. Continue with rows 28 and 29. Everyone, follow the method you have learned. Refer to the chart to complete row 28. Now start row 29. 5 knit stitches. 1 yarn over. 1 knit stitch. 1 knit stitch center top 3 stitches knit together. One knit stitch. 1 yarn over. 1 knit stitch. 1 yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Row 29 is completed. Continue with rows 30 to 33. Everyone, follow the method you have learned. Refer to the chart to complete rows 30 to 32. Now start row 33. 3 knit stitches. 1 yarn over, 3 knit stitches. One knit stitch, slip the next 2 stitches together knitwise, and pass them over. 3 knit stitches. One yarn over, 1 purl stitch. Wrap the yarn from back to front around the right needle. Knit 1 purl stitch. This extra loop is the yarn over. 3 knit stitches. Row 33 is completed. Continue with row 34, 2 knit stitches. 1 purl stitch with a yarn forward. Bring the yarn to the back of the right needle. 1 knit stitch. Bring the yarn to the front of the right needle. 9 purl stitches. One purl stitch with a yarn forward. 2 knit stitches. Row 34 is completed. Continue with row 35. 4 knit stitches. One yarn over, 2 knit stitches. 1 knit stitch through the back loop, combining 3 purl stitches into 1. Two knit stitches. One yarn over. 1 knit stitch. One purl stitch. Pay attention to the next yarn over. The yarn is still in front of the right needle. Just knit 1 stitch. There's an extra loop on the right needle. This is the yarn over. 2 knit stitches. Row 35 is done. Continue with the remaining rows. Follow the method you've learned. Knit to the new stitch technique at row 95. Knit 2 together through the back loop. Watch me demonstrate with a small sample. The stitch count and row count for the sample can be anything. Knit 2 together through the back loop. Insert the right needle from left to right. Pass through both loops. Knit 1 stitch. That completes the knit 2 together through the back loop. Let's watch it one more time. Knit 2 together through the back loop. Insert the right needle from left to right. Pass through both loops. Knit 1 stitch. That completes the knit 2 together through the back loop. Everyone, follow the method you've learned, and complete the remaining rows on your own. One side is worked even. The other side gradually increases stitches. The scarf will gradually get wider. There are many rows to work. Pay attention to checking the stitch count as you go. When you run out of yarn during the knitting process, you can tie a knot to join the yarn. I'll demonstrate the method using a small sample. The stitch count and row count for the sample can be random. Leave about 10 centimeters of each yarn end. Tie a knot with the new yarn. Pull it tight and bring it to the base. That completes the joining of the yarn. Continue following the chart and knit with the new yarn. Make sure the knot is on the wrong side of the piece. You can knit a few rows after that. Start weaving in the ends. I'll demonstrate the method for weaving in the ends. Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. On the wrong side of the piece, weave in the ends following the texture. Make sure the ends don't show on the right side of the piece. You can weave in a few more stitches, then trim any excess yarn tails. That completes the weaving in of the ends. You can use this method whenever you need to join yarn. That covers the remaining rows. We've completed the increasing section up to this point. Next, we'll work on the decreasing section. One side will continue to be worked straight up. The other side will have stitches decreased evenly. In the end, the scarf will form a long triangle shape. Please watch the demonstration. Continue working rows 1-12. Complete it using the methods demonstrated above. Now let's start row 13. Follow the chart for the stitching. For the new stitch technique, work a left upper 2 stitches together, K2 tog, on the purl stitch. I'll demonstrate using a sample piece. The number of stitches and rows can be random. Work 1 purl stitch K2 tog. Insert the right needle from right to left into the 2 loops of the left needle. Work 1 purl stitch. The purl stitch K2 tog is now complete. Work 3 knit stitches. Row 13 is completed. Next, work rows 14 through 24. Follow the method you've learned. Complete these rows on your own. Now let's start row 25. Follow the chart for the stitching. For the new stitch technique, work a left upper 2 stitches together, K2 tog, on the purl stitch. I'll demonstrate using a sample piece. The number of stitches and rows can be random. Work 1 purl stitch K2 tog. Insert the right needle from right to left into 2 loops on the left needle. Work 1 purl stitch. the left upper 2 stitches together, K2 tog, on the purl stitch is done. 3 knit stitches. Row 25 is completed. Continue with the remaining rows. One side remains straight. The other side involves continuous even decreases. The scarf will eventually form a long triangle shape. Follow the method you've learned. Refer to the chart. Work the decreasing section until the last row. Now start the last row with a slip stitch bind off. Watch me demonstrate with a sample. First, work 2 knit stitches. Then pick up the first stitch with the left needle. Cover the last stitch. This completes one bind-off stitch. Continue with one more knit stitch. Then pick up the first stitch with the left needle. Cover the last stitch. This completes another bind-off stitch. Continue to bind off the last stitch. Then leave a 5 cm tail, and cut the yarn. Pass the yarn tail through the loop. Pull tight. The remaining rows are completed. Up to this point, the decreasing section is finished. At the same time, the main part is also finished. After completing the main part, you need to attach tassels to both sides of the shawl. The tools needed for making the tassels and the number of rounds should be referred to in the chart below. I will provide a method for making the tassels. You can learn this first. Please watch the demonstration. Method for making tassels. Prepare a piece of thick cardboard that is the same length as the desired tassel length. In other words, if the desired tassel length is 6 centimeters, then the length of the cardboard should also be 6 centimeters. First, cut 2 pieces of yarn for later use. Then, wrap the yarn around the cardboard. You can decide the number of rounds based on the actual needs or the amount of remaining yarn. If you want to make a multicolor tassel, combine the colors you need and wrap them together on the cardboard. Be mindful not to wrap too tight. After wrapping the required number of rounds, take one of the prepared yarn tails. Insert it through the loops on the cardboard. Then tie a knot to secure it. Pull the yarn tail tight. Insert it again. Tie another knot. Make sure it's securely fastened. Then remove the loops from the cardboard. Cut the yarn tails. Cut the yarn below. Then trim the ends evenly. Next, take another piece of yarn. at a distance of about 1 centimeter from the top. Wrap it a few times. Tie a knot to secure it. Once it's securely fastened, hide the yarn tail inside the tassel. Then trim the bottom slightly. You can use the yarn tail from the top to attach the tassel to the fabric, like this. The tassel is now completed. The tassel is done. Secure it on both sides. Now, let me demonstrate with a small sample. Thread the yarn tail through a sewing needle. From the back to the front. Insert it through the gap in the middle. Bring it back through the tassel. Sew back and forth 2 or 3 times. Tie a knot to secure it on the wrong side. Hide all the yarn tails inside the tassel. One side of the tassel is complete. Everyone, follow the same method to complete and secure the other tassel. That's it for the tassel tutorial. At the same time, we have finished explaining the entire scarf making process. If you have any unclear points during the knitting process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family. Support your handwork experience. Enjoy the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.